Today's video is looking at the lost cinemas of Musselburgh, and these are the Pavilion, the Haywaits, the Regal, and the Central. Hello and welcome to my channel. This black and white aerial photograph of Musselburgh, which we can assume wasn't taken with a drone, from the 1950s, highlights the location of three of the cinemas we are going to cover today. These are the Haywaits on Bridge Street, the Central on Mall Avenue, and the Regal on Dalrymple Lane. But the first cinema we are going to look at is the Pavilion, or Arcadia, which was located on the High Street. I believe this may have been the earliest cinema to open in Musselburgh. Access to the picture house was by a passage through a late Victorian tenement built in 1898. It was flanked by Archibald Tate's Pavilion Bar and Jeevan's Dairy. It is now occupied by Jungle Tumble, soft play area and cafe. The Pavilion Picture House opened in 1911. The big movie of that year was the silent movie Dante's Inferno. It took over 3 years to make and was the first full-length Italian feature film. By 1927, the owner was James Baxter, and by 1935, it was operated by H.F. Baxter and Son. By the 1940s, the ownership had transferred to John Macmillan. At this time, the picture house had 600 seats. By 1946, it was owned by the Musselburgh Cinema Company Limited. Around 1956, it was taken over by new operators and renamed the Arcadia Cinema. The cinema finally closed its doors in October 1962. Perhaps one of the final films to be shown in the cinema was the big hit of this year, The Man Who Shot Liberty Valance, starring James Stewart and John Wayne. The next cinema in our wee cinema history journey is the Haywaits Cinema, which was located on Bridge Street. The cinema was opened in 1924 with 800 seats and was independently operated by Mr. P. DeRollo. The biggest release of that year was the movie Peter Pan. The movie is an American silent adventure film released by Paramount Pictures, and it was the first film adaptation of the 1904 play by J. M. Barrie. Around 1929, it was equipped with a British Thomson Houston sound system. The Haywaits Cinema was enlarged in the mid-1930s to 1,050 seats. In 1945, Mr. DeRollo sadly passed away, and the cinema was being run on behalf of his estate. A cafe was added to the building at this time. The Haywaite Cinema was closed in late 1968, but one of the last movies to be shown could have been the Ian Fleming classic Chitty Chitty Bang Bang. The cinema was then converted into a bingo club, but eventually closed and lay empty for many years. The building was purchased by the J.D. Wetherspoon chain of pubs and converted into a pub known as the David Macbeth Moyer, which opened on the 14th of February 2012. Inside the pub, there are posters for famous films which harken back to the building's former days as a cinema. The third cinema is the Regal or Playhouse Cinema, which was located on Dalrymple Loan. The Regal Cinema was opened in December 1937. The big movie of the year was the Disney classic Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. It had a 41-foot wide proscenium and was equipped with an RCA sound system. In 1961, it was taken over by new operators and was renamed the Playhouse Cinema, but it was then closed in 1974. One of the big films from this year was the highly satirical and controversial movie Blazing Saddles. The building then had a change of use to a bingo hall. But by the late 1980s, the building was demolished and a few years later, housing was built on the site. The fourth cinema was the Central Picture House, which was located on Mall Avenue beside the High Kirk. Unfortunately, I have very little information about this venue. The cinema building was demolished for an extension for the bus depot in 1962. Finally, the cinema which has evaded all my research. I know even less about this than I do about the Central, apart from a nickname and location. The cinema in question was located on New Street and was close to the Baptist Church. I believe it stood at the bottom of the car park where the electric car charging points are, and was nicknamed the Gaff. If any viewers have more information about the Central and the Gaff, please add it to the comments. This leaves us with the Brunton Theatre, which has occasionally shown feature films. But unfortunately, due to the crumbling concrete issue, which is affecting many public buildings across the UK, it might be some time before we see another screening of a movie in Musselburgh. If you have enjoyed this video, please give it a wee like and feel free to comment. We would also appreciate it if you could subscribe to the channel. This will allow you to keep up to date with all the latest Drone Man Scotland content. Bye for now.